Last night, she went to bed bruised and silent. This morning, he woke up to pancakes, a perfect table setting, and a wife who didn't say a word. He smirked, convinced she finally understood her place. But the moment he looked up, his smile died, because the people sitting at that breakfast table weren't supposed to be there. Yet they were the only ones she needed to change everything. Welcome to a story where karma walks in uninvited, strength rises quietly, and a billionaire learns the one lesson money can't buy. The delicate chime of crystal glasses, the low, cultured murmurs of old wealth, and the faint echo of a live string quartet drifted through the grand Tuscan-inspired vineyard estate as golden evening light spilled across silk tablecloths and champagne towers. It was the type of wedding featured in glossy lifestyle spreads, the kind where every detail, right down to the imported rose petals scattered along the aisle, demanded perfection, and Liam Montgomery despised every moment of it. He stood near the bar, tuxedo flawless, Rolex catching the glow of fairy lights, his expression unreadable. Billionaire, tech, visionary, eligible bachelor. People whispered in passing. Montgomery heir, still not married. Didn't he date that model? But Liam barely heard them. He rarely did anymore. He was attending only because Ryan, his closest friend since prep school, had begged him to show up at his sister's wedding. Just be here. Drink something expensive. And try not to glare at the bridesmaids. Liam smirked, remembering it. Scowling had practically become instinct. Life had grown sterile. Contracts, deadlines, the applause, and annoying loneliness. He swirled the bourbon in his glass, scanning the crowd of polished guests, a world that praised achievement yet overlooked the sadness seated quietly among them. Then he saw her. She wasn't wrapped in designer labels or fighting for attention. She stood off to the side, laughing softly with an older woman near a cluster of hydrangeas. Evening light kissed her skin, a warm, deep mahogany tone, and her cobalt blue dress flowed around her like it had been created solely for her shape. Her natural curls were pinned loosely, with one playful coil brushing her cheek. Liam couldn't look away. Who was she? She didn't belong to this glittering, curated world, and yet somehow she did. The way she carried herself, the way her smile, wasn't a performance. It loosened something inside him, something he'd buried beneath 10-figure deals and penthouse solitude. As if sensing him, she turned. Their eyes met. In that fleeting, electric instant, he forgot about the vineyard, the music, the artificial laughter. He saw her, and in her eyes, he saw himself, not the billionaire, not the brand, but the version of himself he had lost. He didn't know her name, he didn't know her story, but he knew one thing with startling clarity. She was about to change everything. Liam Kingston's name had long been synonymous with power. At 32, magnetic and brilliant, he had built one of the fastest-rising tech conglomerates on the East Coast. People noticed him even when he wished they wouldn't. But today he was doing something rare. Attending a wedding. Not just any wedding, Ray and Colton's little sister's. He'd received the embossed white and gold invitation 2 months earlier. Traditional, elegant, not the type of event Liam typically attended, but Ryan had been like a brother to him since college. And Liam knew how much this day meant. He stepped out of the sleek black town car in a tailored tuxedo, sunglasses shielding his sharp blue eyes from the Georgia sun. The countryside estate hosting the wedding looked like it had leapt out of a southern romance novel. Cherry blossoms in bloom, fairy lights draped across white tents, and an air of hushed anticipation as he walked through the archway toward the ceremony lawn. He scanned the crowd. Familiar faces, socialites, investors, extended family blurred together until he spotted her. She stood near rows of white chairs in a simple yet stunning emerald green dress that hugged her curves. Sunlight illuminated her rich brown skin. Her curls were pinned to one side with a jeweled clip. She laughed at something an older woman said, a genuine, warm laugh that made Liam's stomach flip unexpectedly. She did not belong to this world of champagne poses and social masks. She was something different, raw, magnetic, grounded. Ryan appeared beside him, clapping a hand on his back. Glad you made it, man. Liam nodded. Wouldn't miss it. And, who's that? Ryan followed his gaze and grinned. Ah, Amara, my cousin-in-law's best friend, interior designer from Chicago. Helped decorate half of this place when trusted. Liam didn't reply. His silence said enough. The ceremony began. Liam was ushered to his front row seat, and to his quiet satisfaction, Amara sat just 2 rows ahead. He found himself watching her reactions more than the bride and groom. Her eyes shimmered during the vows. She dabbed them gently with a lace handkerchief. Her smile through her tears was breathtaking. She was beautiful, but more importantly, she was real. In a sea of polished performances, Amara was unmistakably herself. After the ceremony, everyone moved to the garden reception. By fate or Ryan's subtle matchmaking, Liam found himself seated directly across from Amara at dinner. He cleared his throat. Hi, Liam Kingston. She looked up, pleasantly surprised. Amara Joseph, and I hear you're the one responsible for making this place look unreal, he teased. She laughed, swirling her drink. If you're talking about the flowers, that was Elise. I just made sure the tent stayed upright. Still impressive. A soft, electric pause followed. She eyed him playfully. I've seen you in magazines. You run, what is it, Nexus Tech? Guilty admitted. But I swear I'm less intimidating in person. Debatable, she said, raising a brow. You've got that billionaire aura. Very James Bond. Liam Lafchin was surprised. Do I earn points for not discussing mergers or money? In the first 5 minutes. Major point, she said. Though now I'm curious how long it'll take. They spoke through dinner about everything except what people usually asked him. No wealth, no power plays, childhood stories, favorite music, embarrassing wedding mishaps. By dessert, Amara leaned in. I expected to be bored tonight, but I'm glad I came. Same, Liam said softly. Very glad. Later, under the string lights on the dance floor, a slow R&B song drifted through the air. Liam hesitated, then offered his hand. Dance with me. You dance? She asked, amused. Not well, he confessed, but for you, I'll risk humiliation. She placed her hand in his. That's the most honest line I've heard all night. They moved close, slowly, the world around them blurring. Amar's head rested briefly against his chest. He didn't know what was happening, only that it felt unlike anything else. You surprise me, she murmured. I thought you'd be colder, like your reputation. He smiled faintly. Sometimes reputations lie. She lifted her gaze, and sometimes people do. Their eyes locked. The air charged. It was just a dance, but also a beginning neither expected. When the song ended, he leaned slightly down. I hope this isn't our last conversation. Depends, she teased. Are you always this charming, or is it just weddings? He chuckled. Let's find out. Even after they parted, their eyes kept meeting across the venue, promises exchanged and looks. That night, back in his hotel room, Liam stood by the window, still in his tuxedo, staring at the stars. Something in him had shifted. He didn't yet know how or where this would lead, but he knew one truth. Amara Joseph had stepped into his meticulously controlled world, and nothing would ever be the same. The morning after the wedding, the estate had grown quieter. Most guests had left, leaving only a few close friends and family behind for Sunday brunch. Liam, who never lingered after events, found himself inventing reasons to stay. His jet was ready. His schedule was full, but she was still here. He followed the gravel path from the guest house toward the lake thanks to a casual comment Ryan had made over breakfast. Amara said she wanted to see the lake this morning. Needs a break from all the talking. That was all Liam needed. Amara sat at the edge of the dock, feet dangling over the water, sandals placed neatly beside her. She wore a breezy white sundress, a denim jacket, and her curls were wild in the sunlight. Without turning around, she said, didn't picture you as a guy who skips board meetings for lakeside mornings. He stunked behind her, grinning. You didn't strike me as someone who lets people sneak up on her. She glanced back, smiling. He sat beside her. Thought you might want company. And what made you think I wasn't trying to escape? People like you. You didn't walk away from me last night, he murmured. She paused, voice softer. Last night felt different. He did, he agreed. They sat quietly, watching ripples shimmer across the lake. Birds chirped in the distance. Liam felt a peace he hadn't known in years. No contracts, no expectations, no masks, Amara suddenly said. She usually avoided weddings, but Elise insisted. And since she was marrying Amara's cousin, she couldn't refuse. Then it must be fate, Liam teased. She laughed. Do you believe in that? Not before. 20 hours ago, she looked at him, her expression shifting. Liam, this can't be a thing. Why not? Asterisk, our worlds aren't even on the same planet, she said. You run a tech empire. I have houseplants I forget to water. You fly private. I take the red line. You're also honest, brilliant, talented, and you see beauty in spaces most people overlook, he added gently. She blushed, caught off guard. I'm not asking for a future, he said. Just coffee. She bit her lip. Do you even go on coffee dates? Not until now. She laughed. You're ridiculous, possibly, but also persistent. I'm leaving tomorrow, she reminded him. Then tonight, he said. Dinner. Somewhere off the property. Just us. She studied him for a long moment. One dinner. But if you show up in a tux, I'm leaving. No tux, he promised. Scout's honor. That evening, Liam arrived in a navy button-down and jeans, more vacationing guy than global mogul. Amara greeted him at the guest house porch in a black wrap dress, sandals, and loose braids. They drove to a small bistro 20 minutes away, warm lighting. Rustic charm. A waitress who called everyone hun and brought cornbread without asking. I like it, Amara said. I expected you to pick some Michelin place overlooking a skyline. I googled best sweet tea in Georgia, he replied. This spot popped up, she laughed. You too much. Over ribs and baked macaroni. They talked about their worlds. Amara spoke about growing up in a tight-knit black neighborhood in Southside Chicago, raised by a single mother who taught her grit and grace. She shared her struggles launching her design from clients doubting her. Long nights, missed birthdays. Liam opened up about his journey from foster care to the Ivy League to tech innovation. He talked not only about triumphs but also the loneliness, pressure, betrayal. The media painted him as cold and unstoppable, but with Amara he was simply Liam. They didn't discuss race directly, but it lived in the spaces between their words. Liam knew it wasn't his place to define her experiences. Amara didn't need to test him. She simply watched how he listened, and he listened to understand. When dessert came, she dabbed her mouth with a napkin. "Never thought I'd spend my night like this with you." "Me neither, but I'm glad," he said. She met his gaze. "What now? You go back to Chicago?" "I go back to New York," he said thoughtfully. "We talk, texts, maybe visit. And if it fizzles, it fizzles. And if it doesn't," he reached across the table, brushing her fingers. "Then maybe fate knew exactly what it was doing." In the parking lot afterward, neither wanted to leave. The warm night shimmered with stars. "I should go," she whispered. "I know." But neither Moochie stepped into his arms, not passionately, not desperately, but simply present. "But thank you," she murmured. "For what?" "For seeing me." His voice cracked. "You're impossible not to see." As she drove away, he knew this wasn't a fleeting moment. It was the beginning of something he thought he'd lost the capacity to feel love. 3 weeks passed. Amara returned to Chicago, slipping back into her routine client meetings fabric. Samples, late nights, sketching her old cracked coffee mug back in rotation. But every morning now began with a good morning text from Liam. He'd ask how his favorite color magician was doing. She'd sigh and ask why he kept calling her that. He always answered the same way: "Because you bring color into my grayscale world." She rolled her eyes each time but smiled longer than she wanted to admit. Liam, meanwhile, shocked his assistant by rescheduling meetings, delaying conferences, and adding video call priority into his calendar. Phrase he had never used. His staff whispered that the aloof billionaire must be in love. He didn't care. Every night they FaceTimed, sometimes for hours, sometimes just sitting silently while she sketched and he reviewed reports. Words weren't always necessary, but under their conversations, a truth lingered. Long distance wouldn't sustain them forever. One evening, while Amara adjusted lighting for a new project, Liam said, "Come to New York." She lifted an eyebrow. To this, Noah's voice softened to stay. She laughed nervously. "You're not serious." "I've never been more serious." "We've only seen each other twice in person," she reminded him. "I've spent thousands of hours with people in boardrooms and don't know their soul the way I know yours," he said, leaning closer to the screen. "And I know myself better now, too. I want to see where this goes for real." Amara stared, heart pounding. "I built my whole life. Myself, my business, my independence. I don't want to become a shadow in someone else's empire. I'm not asking you to give up your life," he said. "I'm asking if we can build something together." She barely slept that night. By morning, sunlight streaming through her apartment, she packed a weekender bag. Not for a move, just a visit. New York was its usual chaos: horns, chatter, skyscrapers clawing the sky. Liam's driver picked her up, and soon she was standing in his penthouse overlooking Central Park. It was sleek, modern, minimalist, but on the kitchen island sat a tiny potted succulent with a note: "Your plants might want company." She laughed despite herself. Liam entered from the terrace, shirt sleeves rolled, barefoot, holding to lattes. He froze, surprised she was really there. "I am," she smiled, taking the cup. "Almond milk. No sugar, cinnamon," he said. She looked at him. "You remembered?" "I memorized." They spent the day wandering Soho, exploring boutiques, sharing stories. He showed her the art gallery he secretly owned and the bookstore where he wrote code on napkins as a teen. She shared her design portfolio, pointing out colors others missed. That night, they sat before his fireplace, soft jazz playing. Liam watched her trace her wineglass. "What are you thinking?" he asked. She exhaled. "That I'm scared." "Me too," he said quietly. She looked up, startled. "I've never let someone in like this," he confessed. "Not really. But with you, I can breathe." Silence stretched between them. "I want to try," she whispered, "but slow, and I need to stay me." "Then we go slow," he said, "and you stay you." She leaned on his shoulder. "What if it doesn't work?" "Then we did something brave," he said, "and I'd rather try with you than regret not trying." Days turned into a week. Amara extended her statewise. Liam rearranged meetings, attempted to cook breakfast badly, and introduced her to Ryan, who immediately said, "Wow, he really likes you." Liam admits you changed him. Ryan nodded. "You're happier, softer, like a human." But not everyone approved. At a black tie investor gala Liam hosted, several older board members made veiled, patronizing comments. They called Amara lovely, referred to her career as delightful, speaking to her with a tone that said they didn't take her seriously. Amara kept her chin high, smiling politely, but Liam saw the tension in her shoulders. In the car afterward, she said, "They think I'm temporary, a novelty. They're irrelevant," Liam snapped. "They matter to your business," she countered calmly. They don't matter more than you, he said firmly. Do you mean that? She whispered. He turned to her. If loving you costs me the approval of a few crusty billionaires, that's the best deal I've ever made. That night, in the soft glow of city lights, Amara watched him sleep. Vulnerable. Human. Real. She remembered the girl she once was scrubbing walls in a tiny apartment, praying for one good break. Believing love was something other people got. Now here she was, not because she became someone else, but because someone finally saw her for who she was. Don't let this be a dream, she whispered. Still half asleep, Liam murmured. Then don't wake up. Spring sunlight washed Manhattan in gold when Amara stepped onto the terrace, barefoot, silk robe fluttering. She sipped her coffee and stared at Central Park, lost in thought. It had been 2 months since her first visit. She'd been traveling between Chicago and New York now. Her design firm was thriving, helped in part by new clients who noticed her after photos surfaced of her beside Liam at a gala. They argued about that. He offered to promote her business. She refused, wanting her success to be her own. He respected her publicly, never mentioning her career in interviews. Privately, though, he carried her business card in his wallet. She smiled, thinking about it. Liam stepped onto the terrace, wrapping his arms around her waist. You're quiet this morning, he teased. Dangerous. She leaned back into him. It's getting harder to lead each time. Then don't, he said softly. She turned to face him. He wasn't asking her to abandon her life just to bring it with her, to build something together. She touched his cheek, whispering she was scared. So am I, he said, covering her hand with his dot. The next night was Montgomery Global's anniversary, lavish glittering, overlooking the East River. Celebrities, investors, and reporters filled the glass ballroom. Amara hesitated. I don't belong with these people. I don't either, Liam said. I just built the room they want to be in. She smirked. Smooth, he held her hand. When you walk in with me, you're not just the black woman I'm dating. You're the woman I'm proud of. The woman who reminded me how to breathe. Her eyes stung. She agreed to attend only if you wore the lavender tie. The one you hate? He asked. The one I chose, she corrected. The gala was exactly as she imagined, extravagant, loud, judgmental. People stared at her with polite confusion. But when Liam placed his hand on her back and introduced her as the woman changing my life, every doubtful gaze melted. A reporter approached. Mr. Kingston, who is the woman who stole your heart? Liam glanced at Amara. I didn't realize how empty my success was until she walked into my world. She didn't steal my heart. I gave it to her. The reporter turned to Amara. What do? I create spaces that feel like home, she said, and somehow found mine in a man who didn't know he needed one. Liam squeezed her hand. Later, on a quiet rooftop garden lit by string lights, Amara kicked off her heels and sighed. That was overwhelming. You handled it like a queen, Liam said. Please. I spent half the night making sure I didn't trip on marble. They laughed. Sitting close, he asked if she remembered the wedding night when she caught him staring. She nodded. I haven't stopped, he whispered.